Got an exciting one for you guys today, doing a real-world review of the Xiaomi Mi 9 and how this phone's kind of a balance of typical Xiaomi value and some really odd software bugs. Quick disclaimers before we dive in. I did pay for the phone with my own money. I used it for about 30 days as my everyday phone or my daily driver, and I waited about an extra week and a half before posting this video to see if software updates would address some of the bugs that I call out in the video. The software updates came, but they didn't address those bugs, so hey, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and dive into the video. The Mi 9. As usual, we are going to start with what I like, move into what I didn't like, and then finish things off with my conclusion. So starting off with what I like, the camera. We've obviously got that triple camera set up there on the back, and I'm not going to show any photo samples, but I will show you the UI. So this is the standard mode, a little bit different than Samsung's layout if you guys watched my S10 video, but we can push that little 1x, jumps up to 2x, optical zoom there. Let's go back to that 1x, and then down there at the bottom you see the like panoramic image icon right there. Tap on that, that takes us into the ultra wide angle camera. So similar to Samsung's UI, a little bit different, pretty easy to understand and use, and the camera takes some beautiful shots. Now when they're touting the DxOMark video score, this video camera is awesome. If you guys didn't know, I shoot all my YouTube videos on a phone camera, so check the description to see what video was shot with which phone. But if you take a lot of videos like I do, you're going to dig the video camera on this phone. It's awesome and it's easy to add to my what did I like list. Next up, performance. This has a Snapdragon 855, but unlike the Samsung S10, this actually feels fast. Using it day to day, it feels really quick. This is something that's kind of intangible and really hard to show you guys, but launching into apps, switching apps, doing everyday tasks, the phone actually feels fast, whereas the S10 did not. I'm picking on the S10 because that's the only other phone that I've used at this point with a Snapdragon 855, so this one feels like it's got the latest and greatest in it. The S10 did not. Take that for what you will. I don't game on my phones or anything like that. Benchmarks I don't really care about. Real world use, this feels faster, so it gets the nod from me there. Next, the screen. So we've got this on max brightness, and this probably doesn't come through on camera, but the screen gets really bright. It's an OLED panel. Doesn't look as good as the S10, but then again, nothing does. But it does look really good. If we turn the brightness down, the colors don't distort at all. Again, that's not something you guys can see on camera, but unlike something like the Pixel 2 XL, the colors don't distort when you turn the brightness down, so the screen does look really good. So next up is the speaker. Now this is kind of weird because it's not stereo speakers, it's just a single bottom firing speaker. But man, it gets really loud, it sounds really rich, the speaker on this thing sounds good. Obviously not as good as a stereo speaker, but it's not like they cut corners here too much because the speaker does still sound good, so hats off to Xiaomi for that one. So other odds and ends with the phone, the fingerprint scanner is pretty good as far as in-screen fingerprint scanners go. They let you add some shortcuts to your fingerprint. If you keep holding on the screen there, you can see that you can create these shortcuts and make them whatever you want. I haven't done that, they're just the defaults, but it's an option that you have, which is pretty cool. It's still not better than a physical scanner, but as far as in-screen fingerprint scanners go, it's pretty solid. Now over here on the left, we do have an AI button. By default, it's Google Assistant, but Xiaomi does let you remap it, both from press and hold and double press. They don't let you remap it to anything, but they do give you a bunch of options, so hey, that's a positive. And lastly, up here at the top of the phone, we do have an IR blaster. If you want to make this thing your universal remote, that's always a plus and has to be called out because not a lot of phones have it these days. So transitioning into what I didn't like. This one's going to be kind of petty, but glass back. You guys know I hate glass backs on phones. I'd much rather have ceramic or plastic, something that's more durable. Because I hate cases too. They do throw one in with the phone, which is nice, but with a glass back, they just scratch so easy. I feel like I need to put a case on it. Next, the battery is too damn small, especially when you look at how big that camera bump is. Like, come on guys, you could have put a bigger battery in there. Battery life has been fine, 5 to 6 hours. You know, I don't game on my phone, I do stream a decent bit, so battery life's been fine, but it could and should be a lot better because they should have put a bigger battery in this thing. Next, no headphone jack. Now, audio does sound good coming out of the dongle they provide, but there's no headphone jack. Just something that needs to be called out and you guys need to be made aware of before you buy this phone. And my last couple gripes actually have to do with MIUI, which is weird because in general it is my favorite Android skin. The first is really hard to pick up on camera, but it has to do with the notch there at the top. So if we turn the screen off, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the notch is more of a Huawei style. And what I mean by that is if you look at the Mate 20X or the Mate 20, it's a very hard angle, you know, almost straight up and down there with a teardrop notch. But what the UI is more of a 1+6 T-notch, and what that means is instead of that hard angle, it's more of like a curved angle, so it kind of like curves in there with a half circle instead of being like a really solid, 3/4 circle, if that makes any sense at all. And when you look at it with your naked eye and get really close to the screen, you can see there's actually some little black space there on either side of the notch, so a weird software bug, hopefully. I hope that Xiaomi didn't like intentionally do this, but it is there. And it is annoying. Next up, notifications. On this phone, there's just something weird going on with them. I'm going to try to pull this closer to the camera to help you guys see it a little bit better. So we've got my clock there top left, and then we've got the alarm right there to the right of the clock. Since my phone's my alarm, the alarm clock icon is a persistent notification. Usually that's not a big deal, but usually it also goes there on the right side where we've obviously got some white space. Now looking at this, it wouldn't look like I have any notifications, right? Well, wrong. I've got several, but they're not popping up in the status bar, which is pretty annoying. They aren't even on the status bar in the lock screen. Now I know I can set permissions and have them display right there in the middle, but I don't want to do that with those apps. They should still be popping up right there on the status bar because they do have access to that. Now this gets even weirder when we fire up something with a keyboard. So let's fire up the internet just so I can jump up there to where the keyboard pops up, and if you can see there top left, now we see all those notification icons. Again, go back home, back to the browser, keyboard pops up, and we see those notification icons top left now. And that's the way that it worked with the Mi 8. So I don't know if this is carryover from the Mi 8 software and it's just laziness on Xiaomi's part, or if this is intentional design. I really hope it's just laziness, because you can fix lazy with a software update. Intentional design, that's the direction I hope they don't go. But in any event, it's just something that I feel like I should call out and you guys should know. So notifications don't work great. So the last thing is the reading mode or night mode, whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and toggle that on. So hopefully on camera you can see the screen just got a lot more yellow. It's turned up to its max setting, so hopefully you guys can see it got a lot more yellow. Let's lock the screen and take a look at the lock screen. Yellowness gone. Unlock the phone and it's back. It's just weird, it's not consistent at all. Again, we'll lock the screen so you guys can see no yellow. Unlock the screen and now the reading mode's back on. It's bizarre, man. So what's even weirder is I actually use this on a schedule. It turns off a little bit after I get to work, but it has never turned off for me. So what I have to do is I have to go in here to my settings. I have to actually toggle reading mode on with that toggle and then turn it back off to get it to turn off. It's bizarre. I don't know what's going on. It's definitely a bug, and hopefully Xiaomi fixes it soon because it's definitely annoying. And finally, you guys knew this one was coming. Ads. You can turn it off on an app-by-app basis, but they are still there. Xiaomi has come out publicly and said that they're going to disable them, so hey, hopefully in MIUI 11 ads are all gone, but for now you have to deal with them and go in app-by-app and turn them off. So it's still a pain in the butt. So all that brings us to the conclusion. For $500, it's an easy recommend for me. Yeah, it's still got its issues, but so does the Nokia 9, which is significantly more expensive, and the S10, which is about twice as expensive as this phone. So when you consider that there is no perfect phone, most of my issues with this are software related, so hopefully a software update will come in the future. Xiaomi is one of the few companies that I trust to do that. It's pretty easy to recommend. So if you're looking for a phone with great cameras, that's nice and quick, you don't care about the battery that much because you're around a charger, or 5 to 6 hour screen on time's enough for you, this is definitely worth a look. Now, as far as me personally, I'm going to hang on to it for a little bit because, again, that DxOMark video camera score is legit. The video camera on this phone is awesome, and since I film my videos with a phone camera, I'm going to hang on to it just for that, and it is nice and quick, so for me, it's a nice phone to have around the house. So that does it for this one. Thanks so much for watching to the end. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.